So, in true beyond annoying fashion, I got sick the third time in 2 months. Third time, 2 months. People keep getting me sick. This time it was my son, probably from the demon hellions that he most likely picked it up from at a barber shop for kids. And I'm pissed now because, I had to shove a laser up my nose to declog it so that I could record this episode. And I'm really hoping that that lasts for the 2 that we're about to record. But I digress. Folks, if I may, we're diving into some Glitch in the Matrix stories today.
I feel like it's a Glitch in the Matrix kind of day already.
It feels that way. What a fitting time for us to be getting into this.
I feel like I just went to sleep a few hours ago.
Beautiful. And what time you say you work today?
12.
Oof, not fun for you.
But I'm off early.
There you go. It's the day of the party.
No, today, that was last Sunday. Today, we just close earlier on Sundays.
Do you sing closing time?
No.
You should try. Give it a shot.
You know what was playing last night? The last song as we're getting ready to walk out? Creed.
Hell yeah. Was it higher? I bet it was My Sacrifice.
I don't remember what it was. It was horrible. Whatever.
Was it With Arms Wide Open? I bet it was With Arms Wide Open.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Okay. Well.
But then I was like, well, at least it's not live.
At least it's not live.
You know who they are, right?
Live?
Live. I think they sing Thunder Crash. I don't know what it is. Another Creed band.
Another Creed band?
They sound just like
They're
Creed.
Multiplying. No, it's fine. Guys, we've rambled. Here's the thing. You know where to find us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod. You know what the show's about. I don't got to explain it. You know that I've been badgering you for months at this point to leave written reviews on Apple Podcasts, and you refuse to listen. You're just as bad as Christian at this point, and he's gotten into your blood. Don't be like Christian. Write a fucking review, you bastard.
I'm like a dewormer.
He's like a worm. We'll call him that. We'll call it what it is. It's fine. He's one of the many worms living inside your cells. Are there? No, I'm just kidding. I was going to be a dramatic news anchor. It's fine. So, as I mentioned, we're getting into Glitch in the Matrix stories. Before we dive into this, have you out there experienced a glitch in the Matrix that you simply cannot understand? And no, I'm not referring to, what's the other ones? The Mandela effects? Not really so much referring to those because those are somewhat explainable and also not really glitch in the Matrix, turns out. But if you've actually experienced something similar to a glitch in the Matrix or a legitimate glitch in the Matrix, send that in to the gang at thefreakydeaky.com or comment it on wherever you're listening to this. I believe Spotify has comments now. YouTube has comments. You guys know how to comment on things. Or you can comment in a review on Apple Podcasts. Haha, gotcha. Anyway, let's get into these stories before I just continue on.
You are now entering the realm of the Freaky Deaky, an unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality, about time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically.
This first one is actually pretty fascinating, very matrixy. And it's a story by Bill Leip, and it's called Not Binary, Wireframe.
That is weird.
What?
Not binary, wireframe.
Wireframe. Do you understand wireframe, like digitals?
I figured it had something to do with that kind of stuff because binary was in there too.
Mm-hmm. Bill writes, if you remember in The Matrix, after Neo took the red pill and trained, he began to see the world as lines and numbers streaming down, a wireframe model of reality. He no longer saw textured and colored shapes, and instead he perceived the wireframe structure beneath. The on-screen depiction made it easy for us to interpret, allowing us to see the room even as a simplified wireframe model. One morning, my wife called out, "Breakfast is almost ready." I opened my eyes and saw our bedroom, but it wasn't normal. Everything was a wireframe model. The overhead fan spun in front of me, the blades outlined in fluorescent green. The entire room was rendered this way, the walls, the door, the closet, all defined by a glowing green grid against a pitch black background. I lay there, stunned and wondering, what was I dreaming about before I opened my eyes? I closed my eyes, trying to reconnect with the dream, but there was nothing. When I opened my eyes again, the wireframe world was still there, though it had started to fade back into normal reality. I got up, went to the kitchen, and told my wife about the strange experience. Her response? Weird. Huh. It has happened twice since then. One time, my wife woke me by wiggling my big toe.
Weird.
That is weird, right? When I opened my eyes and looked at her, I saw her as a moving wireframe. The oddest part was watching her lips move in wireframe as she spoke to me. For the record, no funny cigarettes, no drinking, no drugs. I've asked numerous people if they've ever experienced something like this, but so far, no one. To my knowledge, I've never had a wireframe-related dream, nor have I been thinking about anything wireframe before these experiences. I've never used wireframe modeling or had any connection to it in my life.
I've never heard wireframe used so much.
I know. It's like, this is like the 50th time in this short story that and there's a few more, so buckle up. So what's going on here? Did I open my eyes before the textures had been applied to the wireframes? Was I in a hypnopompic state, a state between sleep and wakefulness that interfered with my perception of reality? How about you? Ever had a wireframe matrix glitch? What do you think it was? That is strange. I'm picturing, I don't know about you, like, what are you picturing as far as the visual of that?
I feel like he's seeing the underlying code of the universe.
Yeah.
But also, hot take, his wife is poisoning him.
Interesting.
With hallucinogens of some sort to make him think he's crazy. Because when you see that kind of stuff, that's like shrooms or LSD type of stuff.
You would think, but the fact that he said it only happened a couple times after that, like he's like, yeah, it's happened a few times. But, and I think in a separate comment or something like that, he mentioned that his doctor asked him how his hallucinations are doing. And he's like, what hallucinations? Because to him, he was like, this is just how I'm seeing things. Like, to me, it's not even like a hallucination, but.
Oh, I see. But it is.
Sure.
I don't care what he defines it as. That's not reality.
Yeah, he probably doesn't care what you define it as either, but.
Of course not, because he sees wireframes and then uses it 20 times in a story. And I might have heard wireframe twice in my life.
Well, then you're definitely not an expert.
I'm a little overwhelmed right now.
I know. I'm like, hey, could you cut back on the wireframe use?
The wireframe is the new creed.
We can only hope. I'm picturing like 3D modeling. Is that what you're kind of picturing?
No, I'm picturing more organic stuff, but he's seeing wireframe, so he's got.
Well, we definitely didn't miss that point. That was crystal clear that he was seeing wireframes. I'm just trying to visualize it, and I just picture like 3D modeling, and how he said like before the textures are put in, which is usually just like a rough gray blob at that point when you're modeling anything in 3D. But so I kind of picture that. I'm like, that would be kind of creepy though. You open your eyes and you're like, well, wait just a damn second. My life hasn't rendered. Yeah, I think about that. I'd probably say wireframe a lot too if that was happening to me. I'd be like, hey, do you see wireframes? Anyone over here? Wireframes? You? Wireframes? No? Barista? Wireframes?
Reminds me of like when you're playing a video game and it hasn't properly loaded. So you're like, see weird boxes and stuff that's not in the game.
I don't think I put it in this episode, but there was a story where someone explained their glitch exactly like that. But it was like so mundane. I'm like, I don't know if I can throw that one in there. Where he explained it the exact same way. He was like, when you're in a game and something doesn't like render properly and just kind of like, you can tell just looking at it, like this is out of place. He's saying every time he'd go down to, I think the bathroom in one of his jobs, office buildings or something like that he'd walk by a specific place and there was just this random line that was like hanging from the ceiling. He was like, it wasn't anything like a spider web. He's like, I have looked at every angle at this thing and it just looks like something loaded wrong. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I don't know if it's.
Did he touch the line?
I believe he did. I think he tried doing a lot of things but he just could not figure it out. And I don't know if this story is actually in here, then I'll just take this little chunk out, but I believe it to be true. This next one is called 4 Years Late. And it's by Alex CC22. Get ready because stuff is about to get crazy. 10 years ago, I used to go to the beach every single day from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. We had a huge friend group. What are you trying to
8 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Isn't that a little excessive?
I love the beach and I will stay there all day, but maybe not that long of a day.
I will stay there for an hour tops until I'm like, you know what? This is fucking boring as hell. I'm going back inside.
I'll just float in the water, waiting for the sharks to come get me.
Or the little tiny crabs that come out of the sand. That's what's creepy about it. I'll be sitting there and I'll see like this crab dig out of the sand. I'm like, what the hell? What are you doing here?
You know what? Show them your dominance and bite one of their heads off. They'll leave you alone.
Not the ones in Jamaica, man. The fear of God got put in me when I saw that thing. Just illuminated by my flashlight. Like we were going back to, I think, get food or something like that. And the sun had set. So I'm just walking down this path with the flashlight, going up the stairs to the resort. My flashlight hits something that kind of blends in with the stair a little bit, right? And I'm like, what the hell is that? And then it starts aggressively like snapping and coming. I'm like, this thing was huge, dude. And then on the other staircase that we ran to go up, there was a tiny crab. I'm like, you know what? Over the crabs.
Have you been afraid of crabs since your previous life in Victorian England?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I have just never, I enjoy crab. I'll eat crab all day long, but I don't want to face one in the wild, They got those pinchers.
But they're little.
This one, I promise you, was not. This one was gargantuan.
Just stay in front of him.
He just does the little crab walk.
Yeah.
Pinching at me. I'm like, hey, put those pinchers away, you bastard. Anyway, when did we get on crab? Oh, yeah, the beach. I was like, where the fuck did crabs come from? Well, we all know. No, just
evolution.
Kidding. That's fine. Yeah, evolution, you ding dong. We had a huge friend group. I had a best friend. We were super close. We'll call her, got the Arthur hands whenever someone says we'll call her.
Arthur hands?
Yeah, that meme where like Arthur is angry and he's just like gripping his fist. He's like making a fist. Like, what'd you say? It's fine. And then there's this young girl who used to work at the Slurpee stand. We'll call her Hannah. She was nice to us. She would give us candies, etc.
Grooming.
First thing first is sometimes my friend Carrie would say stuff that never happened before. She'd sort of zone out and say, remember that time you met your favorite celebrity at that one place that one day? And I was like, that legit never happened. I wish I did. Or remember when you went to the beauty store and bought that one thing? And also legit never happened. I used to think she was crazy. It confused me. Anyway, weird thing was Hannah, the girl that worked on the stand, would always talk about a baby girl she had, like a kid. She would say, I have to pick her up from daycare, or last night I had to stay up to feed my baby, or she was born in September. She goes to XXX daycare. That's probably a weird way to put that.
That is an interesting daycare.
Yeah, don't go to XXX daycare. You'll either, two horrible outcomes. You'll run into Vin Diesel or a bunch of strippers or porn stars, and you don't want any part of that, I promise.
I don't agree with that statement. There's one of those that I would be okay with.
Vin Diesel? I knew it. Just looking at you, Christian, I'm like, this guy's a Vin Diesel guy. He's a Vin Diesel, bro.
He's like family.
I know. I was going to say the exact same thing. Anyway, it turns out she didn't have any baby because my mom knew her best friend, which told her that wasn't true. Was I mishearing things? I convinced myself I was mishearing things. I swear I would hear her talk about the baby with everyone while she was selling them candies and stuff. One day, Carrie, my bestie, that always used to say weird things, told me I saw Hannah and her little girl yesterday. She was with her at the restaurant. And I would be even more confused because she apparently did not have a child at all. Fast forward 4 years. 4 years later, Hannah randomly got pregnant and had a little girl that was born in September.
Randomly got pregnant.
I know, randomly. Oh, God. Oh, no. The wind. It blew it in. I lost all contact with Carrie after a fight. But all the things she had told me in those weird moments started coming true. I noticed it. I cannot find Carrie on social medias anymore. I cannot explain what happened. I think it was a glitch in the Matrix. I also swear Hannah from the Slurpee stand was always talking about her baby girl, which ultimately she did have, but only 4 years later. All the things she had said about the daycare she attended, the Vin Diesel daycare, that she was born in September, etc., they all came true. Can't explain it, though. I think it was a glitch. If any of you can explain it, I would be relieved. You'd be relieved. What is this, eating away at you? It's fine.
I can explain it.
Premonitions from the future.
Hannah's just a bit off.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Isn't that kind of weird, though? I mean, like, for someone that lies all the time, having those things happen.
What? Did she grows up and gets pregnant?
Not just that, but like everything lined up as far as the daycare that she went to, the month that she was born in, the kid being, I mean, the naming the kid is incredibly easy. If it came out a girl, you're like, oh, I guess it's going to be
Chelsea
or Corinthon. It's a fun name. Try spelling that. Or is it Justice for someone that lies all the time? Like, okay, you're lying about all that stuff. Now it's going to happen.
Justice.
Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking we were still doing names. Weird name to pull out of nowhere. But
Justice. This is my daughter, Justice. Don't even think about it, pal. You already know the outcome.
I feel like her friend that disappeared is no longer amongst the living. Just wanted to go dark there.
Wow.
Because it's early.
Okay.
For us here.
I mean, hey, whatever. Whatever you want to do, Christian. The world is your playground.
No.
Or whatever.
The world is a vampire.
I remember. You know what's really strange? I feel like I have the ability to tell the future. Like, I legitimately can tell the future. But here's the kicker. It's only in like 10-second increments. It's never like a month from now this is going to happen. It's always like 10 seconds from now this is going to happen.
It's called your subconscious.
It happens surprisingly, like when I'm watching, let's say, YouTube or anything on like a movie or something like that. I can, and maybe it's because everything's become so predictable at this point, but I can tell when people are going to use specific words. Like if someone's sitting there and they're in the middle of a sentence and then they take a step to like think of what word to use, my brain will tell me the word. And then 2 seconds later, they'll say the exact word I was thinking of. And sometimes it's a word that is pretty obscure, you know?
This is your brain on media. It's been trained.
I'm just part of the hive mind. I shared it with them in the past from the future. That's how wild it's getting.
Welcome.
Thanks, Christian. This feels great. I love it here. I do have the gift. Isn't that what like psychics call it or something like that?
Some of them, yeah.
They have the gift. Like, what gift, man? Christmas is over. At least by the time this comes out, we'll be. All right, let's get into another one. There's a lot of yapping going on in this episode, folks. I'm not going to apologize anymore. You know what you came for. You get it, all right? And if you don't, that's on you. That's on you, okay?
You eventually will get it.
You eventually will get it.
You'll be able to. Goddamn, son of a bitch.
Christian's being attacked by small gnomes in the corner.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like crabs.
Oh, God. And Christian apparently also has crabs, but that's a story for another time, all right?
I got the little comb.
There you go. That's all that matters. Is it the same comb they use for lice?
I have no idea. I was just joking.
I was trying to catch you. I was hoping you'd just say yes. I'm like, no, it's fine. This next one is called Knock Knock, and it's an anonymous submission. I'm not sure if this was a glitch or some kind of horror story. Don't say it, Christian.
I forced myself not to.
Thank you. At some point, we got to give the jokes that come every single time a break. I myself am guilty of a few, but it's been a while. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
It is.
It's fine. But it remains a mystery to me to this day. This moment happened a few years ago. My sister and I shared a bedroom. I slept on a bed placed close to the wall while she slept on a mattress on the floor beside my bed like the garbage person she is. No, I'm just kidding. I added that last part for theatrics. At the time, she liked to hang out with her friends and would often come home after midnight.
Yep, garbage.
Garbage human. I was right all along. Just kidding. You can have friends and hang out with them after midnight. They're not gremlins.
Not if you want to go to heaven.
I don't know if you understand that fully, but we'll move along. Or sometimes spend the night at a friend's house. Our bedroom door lock was broken. Sometimes it would get stuck, and if we closed the door, we couldn't open it from the outside unless we used a key.
That's how locks work.
I was like, yeah, isn't that kind of how doors work, dude? One night, I went to bed before my sister came home. I made sure to leave the door slightly open so it wouldn't lock. I like to sleep facing the wall. The first knock. After falling into a deep sleep, I was suddenly woken up by someone's knocking on the door. Too tired to get up, I turned my head to see if my sister was already home. I could see her lying on the floor, her back to me. Assuming she was asleep, I turned back to face the wall and mumbled, "Hey, can you get the door? See who it is." I figured it was probably our mom checking to see if my sister was home. Without waiting for a response, I drifted back to sleep. The second knock. I don't know how much time passed, minutes or hours, but I was awoken again by knocking on the door. This time I was annoyed. My sleep had been disturbed twice now. I groaned, "Ugh, who is that? Go check the door," and turned my head toward my sister, but she wasn't there. Confused, I sat up and checked the bathroom attached to our room. She wasn't there either. I went to the door and opened it, and there she was, standing outside. "I thought you were already home," I said, bewildered. She gave me a strange look and replied, "No, I just got home." Then she walked into the room, lay down on her mattress, and went to sleep, leaving me in a state of utter confusion. To this day, the thought of that night gives me chills. Who or what was lying next to me at the first knock? Even if I were to mix up the sequence of events, it still doesn't make sense. If I had first heard the knock, found no one sleeping beside me, opened the door, and then my sister arrived, why would I have thought to ask her if she was already home during the second knock? How could I have seen her there before she even arrived? That one could just be a dream.
That one sounds just like a dream to me.
Like, I mean, there are, like, don't get me wrong, there are those hyper-realistic dreams where you, like, the same, you get ready for work, you go to work, and you wake up, and you're like, "Oh, you son of a..." You're like, "I have to work twice? Damn it, my boss doesn't pay me for this."
I've been doing that since I was in school. So many horrible days because of that. I have to do this again? What the hell?
I know. Go into the boss's office, be like, here's the thing. I've been so perplexed by this job that I've been dreaming about it in my home life. And I would like to start getting compensated for that. Do you dream about me in your home life? I don't think so.
Be careful if you ask that, especially if you're a woman and your boss is a man. Don't open that can of worms, because
weird
some
phrasing.
can of worms can't be dewormed.
Can we stop talking about worms while we're talking
You
about
started
a man
this
and a
shit.
woman? No, actually, I'm just stating facts, you know? And as usual, good inventions get buried. They do. There's an entire, like, I've been doing that show on patents, right? There's an entire, I don't even know what to call it. Let's call it a leviathan of patents that get buried by the U.S. government.
Okay, Terrence Howard.
Do you want to know why? Well, we'll talk about it on the show at some point, but you guys can look into it for yourself if you'd like. But the U.S. government intentionally buries patents that could take money away from them.
The U.S. government, or in cooperation with powerful corporations that run the U.S. government.
Is there much of a difference at that point if it's the government or the corporations that run the government? Let's just call it the government.
And I don't want you guys to feel bad if you're in another country. Don't worry, your government does the same.
Exactly. It's called corruption across the board. And your boy's exposing it. And the weirdest thing about that patent show, I'm sure people have noticed by now, is that I literally have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just reading information. I'll look into it and then they'll start getting into like the weird techie science descriptions. And I'm like, I'm just trying to pronounce these words properly and hope that someone out there understands. But it's kind of funny having someone that has no idea what he's talking about. I enjoyed the show more than I thought I would, actually. I was like, this might be a little too science-y for my blood, but it was a fun ride. And I hope people enjoy it, because I'm pretty sure an episode or two are out right now on the YouTube channel. So go subscribe to that.
Definitely subscribe to it, because it's amazing.
Yes, and short form. So it's not as chaotic as these episodes where we go on tangents for 20 minutes and then get back to it. Like, these episodes are all, between probably 7 to 12 minutes. Now that advertisement is out of the way,
You should wait a second.
Christian's going to pour some coffee.
My coffee cures cancer.
Your coffee cures constipation, I'm willing to bet, but that's about it.
Son of a bitch.
Christian, do you need some assistance over there?
I have a coffee cup that think you're turning the lid and your hand's not turning it. So you just look like an idiot and make your co-host wait.
Yeah, that's what makes you look like an idiot. Yeah, that's that one.
Are you saying I'm an idiot?
I plead the fifth.
It's going to make for an awkward Christmas.
I think every Christmas, to some extent, is awkward, especially when you don't like attention on you. Like, you love attention on you. Me, not so much.
Do I love it, or do I just expect it?
Wow. I don't even know. Wow. I don't even know where to go with that one. You walk in the room. Hello, everyone. I'm here. I've arrived. Gather around. Kiss my bunions.
Actually, I do that sometimes. I walk into work. I'm like, I have arrived. You may all rejoice.
Yeah. And they're like, huh? Boo. Boo.
No, they're kinder than you.
I doubt that. I doubt that. What do they say behind closed doors, Christian?
I don't care.
No, you're fun to be around sometimes, Christian. I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Let's get into this next one. It's called I Saw Myself, and it's another anonymous submission. I've noticed that a lot of the Glitch in the Matrix stories, people don't want to put their names out there because they would seem crazy,
Yeah.
Like, we've actually received stories from people that say the same thing. Be like, hey, yeah, you can use my story, but don't share my name. I don't want people to think that I'm a lunatic. And I'm always like, I don't think you're a lunatic. I think it's really cool of you to share your story. So thank you.
Nothing's crazier than Wireframe Guy.
Well, nothing blows my mind more than Wireframe Guy.
That would be a good, animated short, though.
That would be some nice animated shorts, some Wireframe shorts. You're just like, oh, interesting. There's pockets in the back, too. That's fine. Anonymous says, I saw myself. This is my first time writing here, but I need to share something strange that happened. I saw myself.
Every time you say that, I think of an old song.
I touched myself?
By the Divinals, yes.
Yeah, I know. I thought that same thing. Weird. Yeah, we're on the same wavelength now, Christian, when we do this podcast. Very interesting. And he says, let me explain. When I was around 14 or 15, I was at a market with my parents. While walking through the crowd, I saw a kid with the parents who looked exactly like me when I was 6 or 7 years old.
What?
So he's like looking into the past.
Okay.
Pretty much. He sees him when he's 14 or 15. He sees a kid that looks exactly like he did when he was 6 or 7 at the supermarket. At first, I thought it was just a coincidence or a passing resemblance, but no, it wasn't. He looked exactly like me, down to the smallest detail. He was even wearing my favorite sweater, a blue and white striped one. I couldn't believe my eyes. Even his hair was the same as mine at that age, thick and slightly curly. Yeah, it's fine. I stood there in shock, trying to process what I was seeing. By the time I managed to get my parents' attention to show them, the little me had vanished into the crowd. The memory of that moment is still vivid in my mind. Over the years, I've tried to make sense of it, but I haven't found an explanation that fits. A glitch? Maybe. What do you think? I think depending on how the design of the sweater was, would help me understand if I believe it to be a glitch or just some kid that looks the same that wears a blue and white striped sweater, you know? Because as we know, like brands won't release a sweater and then 10 years later have that same sweater for sale. It's always like a seasonal offering, a seasonal this, and then, oh, now the spring collection, now the fall collection, now this and that. So the odds of you're 15 and like 10 years later being able to find this exact same sweater you had when you're 5 or 6, pretty slim.
Can I have your man card? You just went, like, I don't know anything about fashion.
Here's the thing. I ran a clothing line for a while, so I do know about fashion.
Okay, so I'm still going to need that man card.
You cannot have it, mainly because it's already in your daughter's purse for like the last however many years, you know?
Okay, it's probably safe there.
Yeah, it's been a while. And that's fine. You know, I know things I shouldn't know, like how to properly baste a turkey and how to...
Turkey's not even good.
You're right. You're kind of right about that. Everyone waits around on Thanksgiving for like 20 hours for the thing that everyone doesn't like the most. That's too much, right?
I tried to talk her into having something good for Thanksgiving.
It's like all the good shit's already done. Can we eat the good shit and save the dry ass bird for someone else?
I'm like, let's have tacos and enchiladas on Thanksgiving.
There you go. Anyway, we're back.
Back to the story.
Yes.
I feel like sometimes these things are just a problem with your memory and the way you process the information coming in. Like this one, he had the same sweater as me. Did he though? Or is that just the sweater you remember you had?
Well, if that was his favorite sweater, he'd probably at least be able to recognize that a little more than some, run of the mill. This was a sweater I wore on a Tuesday once,
I feel like it's a stretch to say he saw himself as a younger version. I mean, we've seen Twilight Zone type shows where that happens, but
we've also actually heard stories. Do you remember one that I come back to a lot is the guy that was going fishing, I think. And as he was walking, he sees this kid that was like he's like, that kid looks really familiar. I guess I did that. The opposite was the kid. He remembers seeing this same guy that turned out to be him like 30 years later or something at his favorite fishing spot when he came back to visit his hometown.
That one's a good story.
Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of like a similar vibe, like, it's a little more cinematic or theatrical, I guess I'll give you that, but
this one's more mundane.
Mm-hmm. Which to me, those stories are almost more believable because it's like, why even share that? That's not like crazy.
You believe a lot of things.
No, I just believe
stories that people tell. You trust people more than I do.
Christian, we've been doing this show for so long. This is episode 231. Are you suggesting that in 231 episodes, I haven't shared a single true story?
That's not what I said.
But so you said I believe a lot of things, right? Which means that you believe that a lot of these things aren't even true that we share.
I believe that we've done enough stories that some of them are definitely true.
And have we done episodes on completely normal things?
This one could be true.
This one could be true. But it could also just be some kid he saw at the market. I'm not saying it's 100% a glitch. I think it's kind of interesting that you can be 15 or whatever and see a kid that looks exactly like you did at 5 or 6. And maybe this dude looks like a normal person that you could probably see 20 of in the span of a day. But
it also reminds me, and you'll see this in roughly 12 to 13 years, that teenage brain glitches like daily. You'll see.
I don't know. I was pretty wise as a teenager.
That's what we all thought. That's why they had that little thing. I forgot what it was, but there was a bumper sticker about when you're at that age, you already know everything. So I don't remember what else it said, but basically it was like calling us youngsters out back when I was young. But that's what they did back then.
That is what they did right then. Back then, they used to also be on the news. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are or whatever? And you're like, yeah, they're right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have assholes for kids, so they're just right here.
I'm right next to you, Mom, watching Dallas with you.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's good times.
Or Falcon Crest.
Wow. Really going down the Rolodex of the weird shit, aren't you?
I mean, those were two of the most popular shows back then.
Okie dokie. All right, let's see. Let's get into another one before we lose.
Where we have a glitch in the Matrix.
Something along those lines. This next one is called Alone, and it's by Anthrodasco. This one really trips me out. I was driving from Florida, a little south of Tampa, back to northern New Jersey for a vacation to my dad's house for about a week, not 3 years ago. I made this trip a few times that year. Each time I drove straight through, only stopping for gas. It was after it became dark outside. I had just hit Washington, D.C., and I was dead tired. I quickly woke up when I realized there wasn't a single effing car on the road. None. None parked. None driving. Literally no cars whatsoever. Not anywhere I looked. Not even a single person anywhere I could look. It was really cool and really terrifying. The quote, "We are either alone or not, and both are equally terrifying," rolled through my mind repeatedly.
You should have said, I think we're alone now.
There you go.
Tiffany.
And people just come out and start doing Broadway. It's fine.
No, it's not Broadway. It's like mall dancing.
Okay, well, what's it called when a flash dance? There you go. I solved it. Don't even question it, Christian. It's a real thing. I know you're not hip or weren't hip when 15 years ago when that was a thing or however. You know what? I'm going to continue.
That was I was a teenager when Flashdance came out. Maybe young. I was like preteen.
Okay, well then when its revival came out, is that better for you?
They had a revival.
I'm just trying to get out of this.
Okay, move on.
Yeah, it happened in my lifetime as well. I'm just letting you know that things repeat. I was so mesmerized and confused, I drove in a circle, literally in the middle of the road, trying to figure out what was going on. I drove through D.C., even passing some of the memorials, literally with not a single person or car anywhere in sight.
Okay, the story just got interesting.
I was panicking. I would have welcomed even seeing police officers, so I drove through every red light and stop sign on my way through. I passed through, and maybe half an hour away from D.C. did I see another car and civilization again. No, I wasn't on any drugs. Yes, I was tired, but I lost that immediately upon discovery. I told my dad when I got home, and he didn't believe me right away. Weird. Maybe the government was taking a break.
What if he was like asleep this whole time he was driving? You've done that before, right?
Anytime I went from California to Vegas, I remember about 5 minutes of that drive.
I used to, from the Antelope Valley, drive down to like Ontario area, about an hour and a half, and it became such a natural drive. And I used to do that drive when I was a kid too, when my parents were divorced, because my dad lived in the Antelope Valley. I remember a couple of times getting to the other end, an hour and a half, and like, how the hell did I get here?
Yeah. It's pretty creepy when you do come to out of that. You're like, oh, whoa, hold on just a second. Where was I?
Which, and I'm not going to say it can be an
aliens abducting you. Yeah.
It could be that too, but I'm not going to say this explains everything, but this shows when I start complaining about how people process information or remember stuff. That's a good way of showing what our brain can do. The fact that it can have us drive safely.
Just autopilot.
Yeah. Sometimes safer than what you'd normally drive.
Sometimes. Questionable, though. I know I'd usually come to when I see like the actual lights of like the strip and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, where was I?
Yeah. This story
Welcome back.
I was like, oh, cool. You got lucky. Nobody's driving. And then he gets to Washington, D.C. I'm like, ooh, you're in another world.
Yeah. There's literally no way that you can be driving through that town and not see somebody, usually a pig of some kind. Disgusting human being, but somebody for sure, you know?
I don't know. Where'd the pig come from?
Disgusting human beings, pigs, scum of the earth, douchebags, clowns,
Charlotte's Web,
politicians, all of these things.
I don't name call.
Yes, you do.
Who have I name called?
Everyone. You name call every single person, Christian. You know it in your heart. Search your heart. You know it to be true.
Tell it to my heart.
You want to hear a weird story?
Yes.
We'll get into this next one. It's called The Tribesmen. Now, this blew me away when I read it. I'm like, okay, I gotta know. It's by Adam Nixon. So I'm not sure if this qualifies, but this is the closest thing I have to a glitch in the Matrix. I have a vivid memory from my childhood. Well, don't tell Christian that. He's going to not believe you.
You can have childhood memories. They just might not always be completely correct.
Listen to this memory, all right? I was in my living room watching TV with my parents. I got up and started to walk to the back of the room so I could go into the kitchen. Suddenly, out of nowhere, two very specific-looking tribesmen wearing ornate paint, masks, or headgear came out of nowhere from either side, grabbed me by the arms, lifted me up, and ran to the back of the room. I remember screaming and looking down, and the floor was replaced with dirt, leaves, and branches. When I looked back up, I was in a jungle in the middle of the night, and I was brought in front of a roaring fire with a kettle of boiling water suspended
Oh
above
my
it.
gosh.
That was surrounded by other tribesmen. I was brought forward almost as though I was going to be thrown into the fire, and I closed my eyes and started crying. Then my mother shouted, "What's wrong?" Suddenly I was right back in the living room where I was before I had been grabbed. Everyone was staring at me because I was crying for no reason. And when I said someone had grabbed me, they were confused as I had literally just gotten up, said I was going to the kitchen, and walked to the back of the room seconds earlier. For reference, this is one of my first memories, and I probably was not old enough to be familiar with things like tribes and whatnot. Weirdly enough, this is not the only thing that's happened to me that I'd consider paranormal, but the other major thing I experienced isn't what I would call a glitch in the matrix, so much as an actual encounter with something I can't explain and can only assume was an actual ghost. That's weird, right? Just like, I'm going to go to the kitchen, get some water, some tribes. You're just abducted randomly by two tribesmen and then thrown in front of a fire. You're like, whoa, well, hold on just a second here.
I felt like it was a Bugs Bunny cartoon and we were about to have Wabbit stew.
Wabbits too, of course.
Also, white people.
White people?
Don't build your houses on Indian burial grounds.
That is sage advice, yes. Tends to happen more often than not, I'm finding, from this podcast alone. But that's kind of what I figured, too. I was like, maybe it's just some kind of weird, you tap into the energy of the land or something.
And before you cancel us, Native American burial grounds.
And this
Unless you're in Canada, then it's First Nation.
That's a weird story, right?
Yeah.
That would trip me out. That would obviously be ingrained in my memory forever. I'd be like, I can't forget that strange thing that happened.
Maybe this person's slightly psychic.
Just
saw the past.
Tapped in. Yeah. Yeah, thought it was actually them being dragged, but really they were just tapping into some kind of event that had taken place in Peru.
I would like to ask him if he could go to Dallas, Dealey Plaza in the 60s and tell us if there was another shooter.
That seems like a weird request for someone that just saw some natives taken in front of a fire.
If he can see in the past, maybe he can see in the past there.
I'm not sure that's how that works, though. You might need the remote viewing amplifier. No, it was a different one. I can't remember. It's fine. What do you guys think about that story? Pretty wild, no? Pretty damn wild. We're going to get into this next one called Copy Paste by Mary Roberson.
I know her.
Christian knows this one. I was driving down a street about 2 miles from my sister's house and 6 miles from my own, a route I've driven daily for over 20 years. I decided to swing by and say hi to her. That was my last thought before it happened. In an instant, I was suddenly about 20 miles away with no idea where I was. Absolutely no time had passed. One moment I was on the familiar street, and the next I was somewhere completely unfamiliar. It was as if I had been copied and pasted to a new location. I was terrified. I started looking for road signs, hoping to figure out what city I was in, or at least determine if I was heading north or south. Eventually, I managed to find my way back to my starting point. This happened about 3 weeks ago. When I finally told my sister, I begged her not to think I was crazy. To my surprise, she didn't. She said, "I don't think you're crazy at all. The same thing happened to me almost 2 years ago." And the kicker? She ended up in the exact same city where I was copied and pasted. But when it happened to her, she had been driving about 40 miles away. I'm still shaken by this experience, and honestly, I'm scared to go anywhere alone now.
There must be something in that city.
Like a portal. You just driven in like some weird vortex or something like that down this random street and you pop out 40 miles away.
No, I was going to go with her real father, but...
Her real father?
Yeah, that's why they're drawn to that city. Mama had a boyfriend there when Dad was out of town.
And how did they get there? Via the magic of teleportation.
It's called sex, and that's how babies are made.
Christian, I think you know what I was insinuating there.
I do not.
Alien abduction. It had to.
Oh.
Like, how do they get there? How do they teleport to that city, you know?
They don't. They're just there. They drive there like a normal person. They just don't remember it.
You're saying they black out and they drive to this city, both of them separately, years apart, and then they just wake up in this city and like, oh.
Genetics, man.
You know, for someone that has been just taking the brunt of the abuse on this podcast for my opinions on things, you have some of the absolute wildest explanations for these stories.
What?
And then you just prop it out there like it's a fact and gospel. You know, you're just like, well, here's the thing. The mama had a boyfriend.
I mean,
Wow.
that part was made up, but
Well, obviously, Christian, everything you've said on this podcast has been made up.
the glitch in the Matrix part of this story could be them just misremembering. Go ahead, push a button. Push it.
I'm actually adjusting something, not so much
Okay.
pushing buttons right now.
I mean, you haven't fucking pushed a button all episode. Push a button.
But believe it or not, the soundboard isn't actually properly set up right now because I've been moving things around for the different episodes. And I need to replace this with a bigger SD card. And I've just been putting that off. So you kind of are lucky in that regard for the time being. It's not always going to be this way.
Also, Scott is always right.
That's not the one I wanted.
In a different dimension, like when you glitch in the Matrix, you might find a area that Scott's right in. But big shout out to Scott. The fuck, man? I could get on board with that.
We'll probably close it out with this last story. Yeah, what a place to close it out. Well, I don't know. That's a little lengthy. Do I want to read it? Oh, this one is good. Yeah, we will close it out on this. It's called A Second Chance, and it's by Siddharth. I was the only one in the store, and a car pulled up to one of the two double-sided pumps out front. Pretty standard white four-door. This guy works at a gas station. If you couldn't surmise that. I'm not great with car brands, but it was a little nicer, like upper middle class and probably only a few years old.
So Ford Taurus.
Oh, yeah. Is that what are you? Okay, I'm not going to get into that. A woman gets out and starts walking toward our door like she's in a daze. Legit, this woman looked like she saw a ghost. She wanders up, sort of freezes at the door for a second with a 1,000-yard stare before opening it and coming in. She didn't go looking for anything, didn't start shopping, just sort of stood inside for what felt like ages. Again, bars are still open, so I think maybe she's a little drunk or had a rough night or something, so I give the usual, welcome to the gas station. Let me know if you need any help finding anything. Then she finally notices me and immediately asks me the weirdest damn question I've ever been asked on the job. You can see me, right? I said, yeah. Like, what else do you say? She breaks down crying in the middle of the store, so I'm already headed around the corner to see what's up. I have my cell phone out in case I need to call the cops or something for her. I get her to sit down on a nearby pallet of soda, and I'm grabbing her a bottle of water. And after she catches her breath a little, she tells me, I thought I had died. Again, I'm thinking maybe she is on something, but she's a middle-aged woman who looks like a standard local suburban housewife. We're a pretty boring township with your average junkies, or with your average run-of-the-mill junkies. No. We're a pretty boring township without your average junkies like you'd find closer to the cities. So she asks if she can call her husband to pick her up and wait with me. She has her own phone and does so, not really telling him anything either, just where she is at and if he can come get her. He says he'll call an Uber and be there as soon as possible. We're waiting. So far, nobody else has showed up. So I'm keeping most of my attention on her, and eventually she starts to explain to me, saying, I was driving home from dinner with my coworkers, and as I'm driving through a nearby intersection that he recognized, a truck ran a red light and hit me. Now, her car is still at the pump without a scratch on it. She goes on to say she remembers her car being pushed into a pole, going airborne, and then nothing. I tried to calm her down, letting her know that her car is out front and it looks fine, but she insisted that she completely blacked out, woke up in an ambulance for a split second, passed out again, and then woke up again in the driver's seat of her car at the intersection waiting for the light to change. Perfectly fine. This whole thing freaked her out so badly that she drove to the nearest anything, which was us, just so she could get out of the car. Husband eventually showed up to get her. He asked if I had any idea what happened, and even though she sort of explained to me, I just shrugged because no, I had no idea what was happening anymore. She reluctantly got in the passenger seat of the car and he drove them back home. That was hours ago, after which I worked an entire shift at the station trying to wrap my head around what the absolute hell I had just witnessed. Isn't there theories that when you die, you just get flung into a different,
A different you?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, especially something as traumatic as that, like the second it hits you, you're just like, and then you wake up and you're like, well, hold on just a second. Am I alive still? What is that? What is that called?
I can't think of it. It's early.
Yeah.
But I do know what you're talking about. It's like...
is it a form of Hinduism? Who believes the reincarnation thing?
I mean, Hindus do, but that's not part of... That's just a more modern viewing of what happens. I'm not sure how ancient that one is. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know a lot about Hinduism or anything like that. Mostly just an expert on our Western religions.
Wow. Expert is thrown around very loosey-goosey in this sense. That is a wild, God, that would be freaky, especially if you remembered it.
I don't blame her for just pulling in the next place and just calling her husband.
I'm done for the day. Bring me home.
Yeah.
Take me home, Daddy.
I mean, I've worked graveyard shift at a Circle K, and you get some weird people telling some crazy ass stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if I'd ever be able to be the gas station attendant guy because too weird, especially after dark.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in gas stations after dark, and just the folk that you see, you're like, oof, not like this around 9 a.m. I've noticed on my morning commutes.
Yeah, there was a bar near where I worked too, and it
Even
was
worse.
I
That
mean,
means everyone's drunk coming in.
Yeah, but the girls were pretty.
I bet they were Christian, and you do focus on.
This was like 33 years ago. I had one child at the time,
Oh, yeah.
and he was a baby. I was a long time ago.
That feels like a long time ago. Yeah.
Got robbed there.
Cool. You know?
Not cool.
Not cool ever. That sticks with you. Can you still visualize it?
Yeah, guy
Yeah.
with a finger in his jacket.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Said, let me see that finger, boy.
I don't think I was going to call him boy.
He was going to call you boy, though.
I mean, he could have. He
Did he
might
look like the type?
theoretically he had a gun,
Oh, yeah.
so he could call me anything he wanted.
Yeah.
But at least a car didn't hit me and throw me into a pole, and then I blacked out and woke up in my other body.
Throw you into the next dimension, yeah.
What if that's why humans are so troubled? Is because we're fragmented across the multiverse, and as soon as all of our other bodies die, we kind of become one with the universe and move on.
A little new agey for my blood, but
Didn't you start this episode all new agey with? Yeah, you did.
how did I start a new agey?
You told me
Oh.
to bring up worms again.
Oh, that's not new agey. That's factual.
You can't
That's-
even say it without chuckling.
That's just looking around and seeing how things operate and knowing that you can't trust those in power. That is,
You can't trust those that tell you to go to the tractor supply company to buy stuff for your dogs.
you know what? It's actually a pretty sad existence when you do trust those people over the ones in power.
You were right. It is a sad
When
existence.
you're like, wait a second, some dude is telling me to hit up the tractor supply to cure this cancer? Well, I mean, it's got to be better than what these clowns are saying in D.C. They don't. That guy drove through D.C. They don't even exist. No one's there. It's all a cyber world. They're all just working from home. Pelosi, that old bitch. You know, it's time.
Stop. You said no politics.
I
You
think
need
she
to-
broke her hip. It's
don't-
almost time.
I don't care, man.
She's old. She can't survive that.
I don't care.
She might. What if she's dead by the time this episode comes out? That'd be pretty dark, right? But also kind of cool. Oopsie, he said it out loud. Anyway, it's time for us to hit the old dusty trail with this bad one. You know, sometimes we get a little off the rails. Sometimes it's Christian. Sometimes it's me. Sometimes it's both of us. In this instance, I think we can all agree it was Christian. That's simple. And if anything,
Big shout out to Scott.
for keeping this thing afloat, you know?
We can give you a shout out for that, but not for all the rest of the stuff.
Trauma. The trauma is real. Unfortunately, that will stick with you. And I need to remind you that these are my opinions on things, and they don't necessarily reflect Christians' opinions. Necessarily. They're pretty close, but they don't necessarily reflect the opinions of the other hosts on the show or our advertisers. So, and as far as the advertisers go, well, they left a while back. It's fine. Folks, find us on social media at Freaky Deaky Pod. If you happen to know, if you're aware of any other strange individuals who like strange podcasts about strange things, be sure to point them in this direction and say, hey, have I got the show for you? And when they say no good, or no thanks, I'm good, you say, well, okay then.
I mean, that's how I got Tara Lisa to listen to us.
And then you blast Creed and you drive away.
Why would you do that? They're not even a real band.
Christian, they're on tour. Okay.
Yeah, but they don't play music.
I don't think you...
Right, Jose? Right, Jose?
I don't think you have any place to be saying what real music is. I've heard your playlist. You've tried to propagandize my son with it from time to time. It's disgusting. And yeah, that's it. We'll see you next week for arguably the absolute strangest episode that I don't remember putting together. Okay? So I'm telling you that now, so you know going in. I don't want to hear any comments. This one was weird. Like, they all haven't been.
Yeah, Scott glitched in the Matrix on the next
I really
episode.
did. I was the stubborn one then. I was the stubborn one. I was like, I'm not falling asleep. I will finish this. And we'll see how that pulls together next week. Goodbye.
I said that last night, and then I'm like, screw this.
I'm going to sleep.
I'm going to set my alarms before I left work because I was worried that I would get so excited to be off work and get home that I'd forget to set my alarms.
Classic. Anyway, goodbye.
Peace out, homies.
Bigfoot is stalking by your window. Dogman is scratching at your door. Ghosties are walking up and down your halls at night. And the Hat Man is coming back for more. Your name is Christian. You love a can of beans. And you're the wettest blanket skeptic this world has ever seen. You're almost always wrong. It's quiet and impressive, streaky. This song is rambled on too long. Welcome to the freaky deaky. Your name is Christian. Your name ironically, because the only belief you have can be found in a can of beans. You're almost never right, and now you get roasted weekly. This song is rambled on too long. Welcome to the freaky deaky. Also ghosts exist, just an FYI. Aliens are feeling blue. The Ouija demon's lonely because they believe in you. They believe in you. They believe in you. In you. In you.
Nevertheless, he persists. So apologies in advance if I sound just a little nasally. I unfortunately don't have my nose laser in here.
I don't even know what a nose laser is. Just use an Eddie pot, man.
What am I? Some kind of, I'm not going to say that. I'll get canceled. It's fine. No, it's pretty much, you look like the biggest dork in the world. It's just you shove, it's like a red light that you shove up your nose, turns on for 10 minutes, turns off, helps sore throats, helps clear nasally, whatever.
You and your new age magic.
It's actually just technology, but that's fine. I believe it or not, like I got advertisements for it and I was like, that looks ridiculous. And I was looking around, I was like, does that actually work? But red light does kill bacteria and germs and stuff like that. And so, but the company that was trying to pitch it was selling it for like $50-$60 or something, right? And I'm like, okay, I bet this is the exact same product I can find made in China for about $8. And so I looked and I was like, look at that. It's the same. And yeah, so I got it and I was like, oh, it seems to be working all right. I actually kind of like it. They had one tinnitus that was supposed to help tinnitus. And I'm like, now that seems like complete horseshit. There's no way that red light therapy in your ears is just going to, suddenly all the hearing issues I've had for the last 10 years they're all gone.
Especially since they don't even really know what causes tinnitus.
I think they do to an extent now. It's been proven that it's an actual physical thing and that it's not just like in your head.
Oh, I don't think it's in your head. I just think.
But if we know that it's an actual physical thing, at this point, maybe we can get closer to actually solving it, like us, like we're doing the research on how to solve tinnitus. That's never going to happen. But I'm hoping that someday someone does cure it because I've had it for too many years now.
The only profitable way for the industry to cure it is to give us pills.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not worth it to fix it because you're not going to make any money.
It's not worth it for the big companies.
Right.
For us, it's very much worth it. Same with we know there's cancer cures and stuff like that by now.
Oh,
we do. Come on, Christian. Don't even be like that. You know there's
How do I know? I haven't seen one.
Actually, you know what the biggest one is that it's like, what is it?
Colloidal silver?
Nah, not that. It's someone, I guess, that had cancer, like stage 4 or something, pretty aggressive stuff, went down to Tractor Supply and got dog dewormer because some dude way back in the day did a study and said that cancer is actually just worms. Like
But-
it's a.
But
like-
it's not.
okay, well, you're not, number one, you're not a doctor, so you can't say that. But the dude that did this study said that it was, and that it could just be cured with, I forget however many months of taking some kind of fucking like over the counter dog dewormer, right?
That sounds dumb.
It sounds
we do
dumb.
not. We do not.
I do. I
We-
condone it 100%, Christian.
We
Don't
are
speak for
not
me.
doctors.
Yeah.
And cancer does not get cured by a dewormer,
Christian.
especially because cancer is not worms. Cancer is cancer.
Christian, you know, it gets really tiresome, your stubbornness, man. Like the level of which your stubbornness reaches each and every episode, it's shocking to me.
I just don't
It's mind blowing.
I'm not going to kill people with dumb advice.
You don't have to kill people with dumb advice, but
Go down if you feel like it's going to work. Go down to whatever
Tractor Supply.
and buy some dewormer,
Yeah. Get down with that.
or just take your dog's
Look, if-
dewormer.
If you're 100% sure you're going to die, why not? You know, like why not try everything? This dude did, and it worked. All I'm saying is that they make way more money off cancer medications and chemo and all this shit than they do if they cure cancer. So obviously they're not going to cure cancer or give us the cure or lie to us about everything, which is what they do, Christian. And this isn't
They-
a show for conspiracies, but let's be honest.
They do lie, but
Let's be honest. The medical field is a fucking laughing stock.
nah, I'm not going that far.
Okay. Well, you can preach and hail and praise your beautiful health science, but the rest of us we open our eyes a little bit more. It just opens my eyes a little. And speaking of opening your eyes a little bit more,
You know what helps?
Actually-
What else dewormer helps?
worms.
If you're nasally, stick that dewormer up your nose. Maybe you got worms in there.
Maybe you do.
You don't.
Christian, nobody takes your advice for anything because you're literally a nomad, right? You read or you talk a lot, but you can talk a lot and not say anything, you know? I do it all the time.
Yeah. Dewormer, man. That's a new one.
You can actually look into it, but you won't because you just take whatever, you know, your overlords tell you and you're like, yes, masters, yes, masters.
Just because one person felt better after taking dewormer does
It's
not
not
make a
felt
cure.
better. It's getting actual scans and shit and being like, oh, your cancer's gone. What happened? Weird. Stage 4 shouldn't be able to just get rid of it that easily, but here we are.
That just sounds like some weird hippie stuff you find on the internet.
It's not. But again, I don't expect you to believe things that people say because, if anything, this has been a case study over the past 5 years now that you definitely don't believe things that people say.
No.
And you just, you know, hold the hand of big tech and science and say, whatever you say, daddy, whatever you say. Classic stuff.
Man, I got you on a rant today.
I wish this would have happened on the next episode because it would have been better than this one because this is glitch in the matrix stuff.
Well, you can just
Which is
clip
fun.
that part out and throw it on
Yeah,
the
just be
beginning.
like, okay, this is over here. No, the next one, what was the next one? Astral realm exploration.
Never heard of it,
Yeah, well, that checks out for you.
even though I've been there.
I've been to the astral plane. No, and that one is okay. I'm going to preface this so that people have a chance not to listen to it if they don't want. The astral one, 100%. I put that episode together while I was on the brink of entering the astral realm myself. I could not stay awake to save my life. I was fighting it so hard for like 30 minutes. I'm like, no, I got to keep doing this. And so I have no idea what the fuck is in that episode, but I know it's weird. So everyone needs to buckle up for next week where it's going to get a little strange. But if anything, that's what you want for that episode, you know?
I'll be the judge of that.
You are the judge of everything, Christian, because you're very judgy.
It's
turns out.
it's like I'm a religious person.
Nope, not like that at all, actually. But I wouldn't expect you to know that because you don't study religion. So
I won't.
ta-da, here we
I
go. We're back.
study religion.
No, you
every
listen
day.
to people who study religion. You don't personally actually open a Bible and study religion. You don't actually be like, you know what, today I'm going to read this. I'm going to study this. You're like on YouTube, hey, History Channel, what's your biggest dumbass? Have him tell me about
I'm
things.
currently reading the Gnostic Gospels.
The Gnostic Gospels, okay, you know what?
And it's a horrible translation, so I haven't gotten very far.
Yeah, well, how about you start with the actual gospel?
Because
You
there's
ding dong.
because I got time for all of it.
No, you
Unless I
don't.
die next week.
You never really know.
I don't.
How would you like to die and then God be like, really, you started with the Gnostic Gospels, Christian? Get on down there. Get down there.
Get
Go.
on down the
Get
road.
on down there. Shoo. Down.
I
down.
thought we were going the whiz there for a minute.
No, not quite. Not quite.